to improve police accountability and to help secure our communities, make sure they feel safe in interacting with the police?
Sure. As I mentioned before, I am heavily involved in community, especially with 24 District Police Department. I'm a CAPS as well as DAC member. This is all lack of education. We need to educate our youth. We should have more option for community. And as soon as I become an alderman, definitely I'm gonna have more educational benefit. We have to work with CAPS, community policing together. There's CAPS meeting every month. There's a DAC meeting, DAC committee. So we need to tell our residents to get involved and have more option, positive option, where community can feel comfortable talking and having good relation with community policing. This is all just because of lack of education. Thank you.
We definitely seem to see an increase in police brutality and violence, particularly directed towards our minority communities. And I think that's a direct result of an over-militarized police force. Right now here in Chicago we have a board that's not independent of the Chicago Police Department, and so a lot of these infractions or outright crimes really go unresolved because the police officers who are responsible for these actions aren't really held accountable. We need to remove the oversight board from the Chicago Police Department and make it an independent council of residents throughout the city. Some kind of ethics oversight to ensure that our cops are held accountable for actions that they take that are particularly aimed against our minority communities.
And Peter, if I could just follow up, and if you could give us any thoughts on how to improve the relations and that those type of efforts, specifically with regards to the Asian American and South Asian communities.
I think the key to improving relationships between the Chicago Police Department and our minority communities is improving the outreach, getting people more involved in the CAPS meetings. They happen every month, and they're broken down by beat, so they're they're hyper local. So getting people more involved using social media and mailers, making sure people understand that they have open access to these meetings. I think a lot of the problems result from a lot of misunderstandings, and that happens if there's no communication between the two communities.
Shajan?
I think it's a couple of things. First thing is accountability, making sure that our police are held accountable for their actions. That's very important. Number two, it's also education, making sure that our police citywide are educated on our diversity. The other thing is that this past summer I attended a meeting at the Asian Americans for Advancing Justice, and one of the things that I have brought up to them is that we need to also promote our community to take on this career of becoming police officers and serving. Because by doing that, we integrate in a culture that's non-existent. Right now, the numbers are about less than 10% Asian Americans are police officers. We need to increase that number. And I think when we take, as Asian Americans, we take the traditional route of becoming, going into medical or going into technology or something else, we lose out on those opportunities. And I'll tell you right now, I have 4 close family friends who are police officers, and they're all Indian American. And they tell me the hardships that they go through. But again, we don't have the numbers that we need to let others know that this is how our culture operates. This is how we need to handle communication. If we do that, we'll long term see a reduction in these issues.
And Shajan, if I could just follow up with you for a second. This kind of goes back to the question where the responsiveness and relationship and the fear of communicating with the city. Can you touch on what role the community can play or how they can better improve their relations with the city and what you can do as alderman to help that? And then just anything you can touch on with regards to the education and accountability, especially specifically with regards to the Asian American and South Asian community.
Sure. So this past March, I think it was, there was a group of Muslim Americans that actually hosted an event right down the street here on Devon Avenue, and they actually brought Superintendent McCarthy to speak, and they brought a legal team as well to address the issues of what we would call hate crimes on the community. And I think it's important, one, we get the leadership involved as aldermen. The alderman should be the catalyst, the one to create the conversations. And we should take that leadership role to bring them into our community, educate them, one, and let them know that these are the concerns that we're experiencing. Because yes, there is a sense of fear, in letting leadership know or letting anyone know for fear of lack of a better retaliation. What we need to do is make sure that we curb that and we take the role and we be that voice for the community when they necessarily can't be.
I've been talking to a lot of the businesses and residents of many ethnicities, not just American, Pakistanis, but also Arabs. They have a very legitimate concern. And going back to this, as alderman, I will have a satellite police office. Right now, there is no satellite police office. There's one in O'Connor's, there's one in Joe Moore's, but not here. The beat system doesn't work either, because the beat system is in different wards. It splits it up. I would like to see a beat system ward-based, so it's more concentrated and accountable. And number three, while they're in process of setting up a satellite police station, maybe it's an office of 2 police officers, I said very clearly, I would have a desk or 2 desks within my automatic office so they could set up shop. They could have all the gear and requirement needed. And 3, more importantly, our system is outdated. Once again, I'm a technologist. The police cameras you see on top of a squad car request a video footage of such and such a crime. He can't. He has to go to the police station, wait, and then see, oh, that lady got mugged 2 hours ago. That's irrelevant. We can't do it. No. We need to have the capability of squad cars, for one, have the capability to have on-demand video footage of that capability. Number 2, on my website, part of the economic plan, I said very clearly, we need what's called emergency telephone towers, just like on college campuses. I would place them specifically in their schools, okay? That's one location. And also, going back to satellite police officers, I want the satellite police officers to reflect the community. We do need somebody that's truly multilingual. There are many good men and women in the Chicago police force, but regardless, if they do not speak the language, they simply do not understand it. I'm not here to give you a lesson on psycholinguistics, but it's so important that you understand and speak the language so you can understand the customs and the cultural differences that are needed to really police such a rich, diverse area like this. And going back to my economic plan, having a counselor services here will help us have federal funding to have the extra protection for that area. And also, I would like to respectfully correct my other candidate, Zehra. Being alderman, you could do a lot for immigrants. I know many people who got their green card through merely a recommendation letter through an alderman. It helps tremendously. So even though it is a federal issue, there's no direct federal law that allows us to do so much as a congressperson. Having a recommendation letter goes very, very, very far for an implement. Thank you.
Thank you, Fuji. We're going to go to our next pre-prepared question. According to the International Association of Chiefs of Police, crimes such as domestic violence and sexual assault are seriously underreported by immigrants. If you were elected, what are concrete ways that you would improve police response to limited English proficient and other immigrant community members, including domestic violence victims? And I'm going to add a little bit to that. And how specifically would you work with the Chicago Departments of Family and Support Services to improve services for domestic violence victims and their families, which is an issue faced by the Asian American and South Asian communities?
Once again, we need police officer or law enforcement officers that truly speak fluently the language. Merely knowing a few words will not help. They really need to know the language, understand the situation at hand. And also, it needs to be equally divided. All too often, they say, oh, the men will never get abused. There are men out there that need help too. A minority, granted, but there is. Also, we need more minority female police officers. Specifically, I believe we need it in the Arab community. I'm a big proponent of that. And I think in my automatic office, what we will do is really request and work with the Chicago Police Department to get those police officers from that ethnic and linguistical background to work with the community. What's really important in this situation is to be fair and open-minded, because really this is a very diverse community. We got the Orthodox Jewish community, we got the Indian Muslim community, we got other religious communities. So there are differences, but nevertheless, violence, physical violence cannot be tolerated, period. And one way to do that, technology can help, documentation. Timely documentation is crucial for prosecution. So many times, so many people walk when that guy or woman was guilty, and that's not fair. So this is why it's so important to have a satellite police office, because I've heard one police officer tell me that, hey, sometimes there might be 4 or even less police officers patrolling the whole entire 50th ward. This is why the beat system doesn't work. This is why it's important to have a satellite police office that I've already said for many months. And going back to that, now is the time to really get minority women into the police force for specific areas like as diverse as ours. Thank you.
Shajan, same question. I'm going to ask you to focus a little bit on focusing that issue on the domestic violence issue, since we do see that in the South Asian community, especially with organizations like Upnagar that try and address those issues. What can you as aldermen do to help support those kind of efforts, improve the reporting, and address any issues of domestic violence in the community?
I think the biggest thing is education, letting people, especially women, know that there are resources available, one. Number two, it's also important to get over the sense of shame and fear that's involved as well. And that boils again back down to education. Being in a leadership position as alderman, you should be the person to bridge that gap. One, by working with the organizations like Upnecker, creating the conversations with the police department to say, if there is a language issue, we are available, we are here, we respect people's privacy, which is something that they do now. And also providing them the long-term resources, whether they're legal, safety, food, shelter, anything like that. Again, if we don't let people know and if we don't communicate these things, then what happens is that we have the increase, we have the people hiding, and I think if we're able to provide those, our long-term is that we see a reduction down the road.
As far as the domestic violence issue goes in the community here, the biggest thing we can do is educate the residents, educate them on the available resources, sponsor workshops through organizations like the ISC, provide them the resources necessary, bring people from the community in to kind of educate them on what kind of programs are to help people who are victims of domestic violence, things like that. Getting them to understand that the Chicago Police Department does work for them, and eliminate that, or work to eliminate that sense of that fear and shame.
Domestic violence is a very touchy subject, and we are serving domestic violence clients from Samso Community Resource Center. We are working very close with Upnagar, as well as we refer clients to Rogers Park Community Council as well. We are working with Hamdard Center, and again, I agree with Shajan, Peter, that a lack of education. We have to educate. We are bringing more resources. Like, we don't have any power right now, but we are still educating community. We are telling our community that yes, there is resources available, utilize. So again, being an alderman, you can bring more programs, more resources towards the 50th Ward residents, and this is very important to educate our community on not only domestic violence. We have to educate community on different topics, jobs, resources, how to complete resumes, this and this. They have no idea, lack of communication, lack of knowledge. So we will be bringing more resources to the 50th Ward residents. Thank you.